只有学习让我开心。
Did you understand what the voice behind the screen enunciated? If you did, congratulations! Your Chinese is very good. If you didn't, but you really want to understand, you're in the right place. Because today I decided to introduce a little bit of information about Chinese language, because I think unlike any other language in the world, you cannot just start learning or go on Duolingo and start learning Chinese. If you do not know the basics, the structure of the language, and some nuances you have to know, I think it's gonna be useless to start learning the language, because probably you will have many issues with pronunciation or just understanding or grasping broader or bigger vocabularies. Look at these beautiful characters on the screen. And I guess you have no idea how to read them, right? Because they don't give us the clue. And now let's look at this beautiful letter. With alphabetic languages, you usually can get an idea how the word is pronounced. You learn the alphabet and you can read the words, even the ones you've never seen in your life. Because you can learn a letter and you can learn sounds. And it seems the job is done. Even better, all the words are made using the same letter combinations, right? Well, the case is a little bit different in Chinese language. But don't cry. I'll help you. Chinese has no alphabet. So the written language is basically Chinese characters. This gives you no clue to the pronunciation. And you know what? That's why a pronunciation guide was developed in Roman letters. It's called Pinyin. For example, you can see these characters. And this is Pinyin that helps you know how to read these characters. Disclaimer, don't rely too much on Pinyin. You will trick your brain because of course it's much easier to read Pinyin. These are familiar letters, right? But then your brain will start ignoring the Chinese characters. And actually, once you go to the books that already don't have Pinyin, you will have difficulties because you are too reliant on it. So when we were studying Chinese, our teachers told us to try not to rely too much on Pinyin and try to switch directly to Chinese characters, because that's definitely gonna be helpful in the long run. Look at this beautiful, beautiful picture. That's how Chinese kids learn Pinyin. So Chinese is not easy language for nobody in this world, and Chinese kids just learn it the way you do. And they also learn Pinyin. Let's take a look at the logic of Chinese characters. Pinyin. So basically, pin means pieced together and yin means sounds. Sounds pieced together. Now you know how to read Chinese characters when you start learning Chinese. Amazing. And another very key moment is Chinese tones. There are 4 major Chinese tones. Some people can say there are 5 tones and the 5th is the neutral one, or the so-called toneless tone. But the ones you have to learn is of course from 1 to 4. Look how beautiful they are. I love them. So cute, so beautiful, and create so many difficulties for Chinese language learners. I've been learning this language for a very long time, and you know what? I still pronounce them sometimes incorrectly, even though I myself think that I pronounce them greatly, and then the native speaker just will come and tell you, no, you are doing it wrong. And that's the point with tonal languages. They are sometimes complicated. Very often people even say if you're maybe a musician or something, you will be better at learning tonal languages. Well, I still was able to survive, and yeah, sometimes you may pronounce it incorrectly. That's fine, as long as the majority of other syllables and other aspects of the language are great. I think this is permissible. The tone you use when pronouncing each one syllable sound determines the meaning. So guys, it's very important. If you pronounce one syllable sound in different tones, there will be completely different meanings, and you'll want to avoid confusion in your life, right? By the way, you may think that tonal languages are very difficult, but actually 70% languages in the world are tonal languages. Tones are most used in East Asia, Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and indigenous languages in Mexico. And here is the catch. Let's take a look at these 3 beautiful, beautiful characters. And that's what I was talking about. You can have different Chinese characters with different meanings, but with the same syllable and with the same tone. And that's why learning Chinese characters is very important. And that's why probably this is one of the biggest issues, that Chinese language cannot switch just to Roman letters or wherever. One syllable can be pronounced in the same tone, and there will be like hundreds of characters suitable for that syllable, and only using the character you can distinguish the meaning. So it's very crucial. Mu, mu, mu. It can be would, it can be I, it can be heard, and you definitely don't want to confuse these 3 characters, right? Many people can start thinking then what to do in these cases, and here when context comes in handy, and only context can help you determine, so what is the meaning of that word. But come on, guys, let's look at English language. It also has similar things, like there is a bark on the tree or a dog can bark, right? This is the same situation, and this is when the context comes in handy. Let's look at another example, how tones are extremely important in Chinese language. Everyone is talking about it, but let's look at the example. For example, here we see 今天有雨, which means today we are having fish, or 今天有雨, today is gonna rain, which are absolutely different characters, different tones, but the same syllable, right? And this is when tones help us determine. Of course, when you're reading a text, yes, you don't really need a tone because you see the character and you know the meaning. But when we talk about the spoken language, that's the case. Oh my gosh, let's look at this one. You can cool or you can be cool. You can be cool or you can be crying. And you don't want to confuse these two characters, right? Just as you don't want to call your mother a horse, right? Okay, let's go deeper into the pronunciation of the tones. Let's do it quickly. I really don't like to spend a lot of time on everything, but when it comes to mastering the tones, it can take eternity. We had a special class when we just would spend hours sitting in the classroom and pronouncing syllables. Like, you don't learn characters, you don't learn the words or whatever, you just pronounce meaningless syllables. And why that is so important? Because if you don't master them very well, Chinese people just will not understand you. Okay, let's look at the first tone. It's a high level. Pitch your voice high and hold the sound there slightly longer than seems natural. Like ma, ma,
ma, ma,
ma,
You can pause this video and practice as long as you want. Try different syllables, but that's a crucial part of learning Chinese language. If you don't pronounce these meaningless syllables for eternity, you can stop even learning Chinese language. I think it will be useless. Second tone, rising. Ma, ma,
ma,
ma,
ma,
From the middle level of your voice range or to the top, raise your eyebrows as you say it. Ma, ma. It's like the tone that you are using at the end of the question, like what? Ma. Third tone, usually very complicated for many people. It's like you are falling and then rising. Ma, ma.
ma,
ma,
They say it's also similar as if you're surprised, but it's like you have a pause in this surprise. Fourth tone, falling. This is probably one of the easiest tones in Chinese language. You can stamp your foot when you are saying it. Ma, ma,
ma,
ma,
as if you're scolding somebody. Okay, so what do we know for now? We know that Chinese language is a tonal language. There are 4, or you can say 5 tones. The 5th is the neutral one. We know that the first thing you have to do when starting learning Chinese language is mastering the tone. It's like the basis of your success in Chinese language. So what's now? Now let's go to the Chinese characters themselves, the most beautiful part of Chinese language. As you know, mainland China uses simplified Chinese characters, while such places as Hong Kong, Taiwan, they do use traditional Chinese characters that are even more complicated than simplified ones. And Chinese characters are comprised of different strokes. So the original characters written 2000 years ago usually were the pictures. And some Chinese characters are to these days are pictographs. So right now Chinese characters are considered logograms, which means that usually one Chinese character represents one single word. It doesn't spell out a pronunciation. It just shows you what the word is. People generally agree that you need to know about 4,000 Chinese characters in order to be able to read well. But does it mean that you need to memorize many unique logograms? Actually not, because a lot of components in Chinese characters repeat themselves in different characters. For example, let's look at this beautiful character mu, which means wood. But you can take 2 of them and squish them together side by side, and that will be woods, forest. It shows you that Chinese language actually has a very good and beautiful logic in itself. While many characters in Chinese language are actually pictogram, basically means like pictures denoting some objects from the past, many are logograms, more like symbols or signs that represent the words. There are different strokes that start each Chinese characters, but the component that is bigger than stroke is a radical. These are reusable built-in blocks that help you distinguish even the characters you've never known, because when you can look at the radical that you already know, and it can give you a hint about the meaning of a word. It can represent things or ideas or help you with pronunciation. Radicals are often used for organizing or classifying Chinese characters. The good news is that there are only around 217 radicals, which are used and reused across thousands of Chinese characters. The bad news is that while some Chinese characters are made up only of the radicals, others are unique logograms that don't use any radical or a mix of radicals and unique logograms. Let's look at this beautiful radical that everybody knows who learns Chinese language. It's "nu", it means woman. So apparently if you see a character you've never seen in your life but you see "nu", it has a radical "nu", right? A radical that means a woman. Of course you will get this. Probably this is something related to women. It may be a woman's name or something like that. So what have we learned till now? That Chinese characters start from strokes, the smallest component of Chinese language. Then we have radicals, and then we get Chinese characters. Let's take a look how the meanings of the new characters directly relate to the meanings of the original characters. We can have sun and moon, and we will get a new character that means bright, because both of them are very bright. Caution alert. As always, everything in Chinese language is not that easy, because radicals in Chinese language can have different types of life, and they can have double life. Many Chinese characters, full characters, can also be used as radicals. Let's take a look at the character water. Shui, shui. It also can be a radical. As you can imagine, there are many water-related Chinese characters that require this aqueous radical. But some radicals like water can lead a double life, and they can actually appear under two different shapes as building blocks in Chinese language. This is the original character, and this is the abbreviated form. This form is often called as 3 drops of water. It usually sits on the left side of the character. Apparently, Pinyin should be an easy part for every person from most countries in the world, but let's take a look at the Chinese Pinyin alphabet. This is the official People's Republic of China transcription. In total, there are 23 initials. It's a beginning of a syllable, shenmu. And there are 24 yunmu, finals, the end of a syllable. For example, you can have initial b, and you can have final a, and you will get a syllable which means ba or ba, or it may be ba, or it may be ba. All can have different meanings and different characters corresponding to these syllables. But let's take a look at the real secret of learning Chinese language. And it is, take it easy. Man man lai. This is something many Chinese people will tell you in various situations, basically telling you that no rush, take your time, and keep cool, everything is gonna be okay. Man man lai directly translated as slow, slow, calm. I mean, this is a very quick intro to Chinese language, but I think these are things that you have to know before starting learning Chinese language, no matter where you do it. It's just like the basics and something that Chinese language stands on. See you next time.